Be me, 24, female, living in a cramped apartment that smells permanently of stale vape juice and dryer sheets. Boyfriend is Steve, 25. Roommate is Mike, 25. We are the golden trio, or some other high school musical bullshit, Steve likes to say when he's 3 beers deep. It's a Tuesday night, but we decide to go out because we have no impulse control, and Mike just got paid. Cheap drinks, loud music, sticky floors, the kind of club where your shoes make a peeling sound every time you lift your foot. Steve is clinging to me like a koala. Mike is on the dance floor, trying to woo a girl who is clearly out of his league. She's wearing a dress that costs more than our rent. Mike is wearing a polo shirt he bought at Target in 2019. Steve nudges me. Watch this idiot fumble it. I laugh because it's true. Mike is trying the nice guy routine, which just looks like desperation under strobe lights. Shockingly, he gets her number. She disappears into the ether before last call. We stumble back to the apartment around 2 a.m. Hunger sets in. Steve starts making frozen pizza while Mike sits on the counter recounting his victory. Steve starts the roasting. Bro, you got the free trial version of intimacy. She gave you a fake number. I guarantee it. You should have taken her home. Mike is laughing, but his eyes are dead. He's drunk enough to be sensitive. Steve won't let up. You're gonna explode by morning, dude. Blue balls of the century. Mike groans and heads for the fridge. Lay off, Steve. Steve looks at me with that glazed, tequila-soaked look. I'm just saying, he's in pain. I try to diffuse it with sarcasm. The kind of sarcasm you use when you want everyone to shut up so you can eat your pepperoni slice in peace. Chill out, Steve, or I'll have to do something heroic. Silence. The air conditioner hums. Steve isn't laughing. He looks at Mike, then back at me. I'd let you. Voice low. It's not a joke anymore. It's a weird power play. Mike blinks. He looks at his beer bottle like it holds the answers to the universe. I'm game. He says it like he's agreeing to help move a sofa. Not excited, just ellipsis obliged. It should have died there. Steve should have said gross, and we all go to bed. Instead, Steve nods, like he's granting permission to borrow his lawnmower. The next hour is a blur of bad decisions. Not kinky, not sexy, not some wild fantasy coming true. It feels administrative, transactional. Cheating disguised as a dare. Cheating disguised as helping a bro out. Steve watches the whole time. He doesn't join in really. He just supervises. Like a shift manager at a Burger King. Afterward, nobody kisses, nobody cuddles. Mike pulls his pants up and mumbles something about needing water. Steve looks at me. Expression unreadable. Not angry, not happy, just empty. We crash in Steve's room. Mike sleeps on the couch. The morning after is basically a horror movie intro. Sunlight hits the dust motes. Steve wakes up and stretches like he just won the Super Bowl. Walks into the kitchen. Mike is staring at a bowl of cereal. Steve slaps Mike on the back. How we feeling, champ? Mike flinches. Good, man, good. I walk in. I feel like I'm made of glass and shame. Steve kisses my cheek. Coffee? He's acting like we just played Monopoly. Mike won't make eye contact with me. He looks at the toaster. He looks at the floor. He looks at the expiration date on the milk. Anywhere but my face. Days pass. The dynamic shifts into something toxic and weird. Steve gets possessive. Not in a romantic way. In an ownership way. He starts answering questions for me when we're out with friends. She doesn't want the IPA. She hates hops. She's tired. We're leaving. Meanwhile, Mike is ghosting us in our own apartment. He spends hours in his room. I hear him playing Call of Duty. Gunshots and explosions through the drywall. 2 weeks later. Things are still weird, but then my body starts doing the thing I ignore because stress. First, it's the smell of Steve's vape. Usually smells like synthetic mango. Now, it smells like rotting fruit in a dumpster. I gag when he blows it near me. What's your problem? He asks. Just nauseous. Probably the takeout. Then the fatigue hits. I fall asleep at 7 p.m. watching Law & Order. Steve pokes me awake. You're boring lately. I'm tired, Steve. You weren't tired that night with Mike. There it is. The weaponization. He's been holstering that one, waiting for the right moment to shoot me with it. I ignore him and go back to sleep. 3 days later. Period is officially late. I have an app on my phone. The little red dot is flashing late. Panic starts as a cold trickle in my spine. I do the math. The timeline is a disaster. Steve and I have sex regularly. The night with Mike was right in the danger zone. Ovulation window is a blurry nightmare. I drive to a CVS 3 towns over, wearing a hoodie and sunglasses like I'm robbing the place. Buy 3 tests. The cashier is a teenager chewing gum. She doesn't care, but I feel like she's judging my soul. Get home. Boys are gone. Steve is at work. Mike is ellipsis somewhere not here. Pee on the stick. Wait 3 minutes. Longest 3 minutes of my life. I count the tiles on the bathroom floor. 42. Time's up. 2 lines. Bold. Dark. Unmistakable. I sit on the toilet lid and stare at the wall. No tears. Just a heavy, suffocating dread. This isn't a rom-com mix-up. This is a life-ruining biological fact. Who is the father? Could be Steve. Could be Mike. Percentages are basically a coin flip. Hell. Absolute hell. I hide the tests in a tampon box, shove it deep under the sink. That night, Steve comes home happy. He got a bonus or something. He brings tacos. The smell of the ground beef hits me. I sprint to the bathroom and vomit. Steve stands in the doorway. You okay? I flush. Rinse my mouth. Look at him in the mirror. I can't hide this. He's going to know. Steve. Yeah? I'm pregnant. Silence. The kind of silence where you can hear the fridge compressor kick on. His face goes through 5 emotions. Shock, confusion, calculation, realization, horror. Is it ellipsis? He doesn't finish the sentence. He doesn't have to. I don't know, Steve. He steps back, hits the doorframe, slides down to the floor, puts his head in his hands. You don't know. The timing ellipsis, it could be either. He starts laughing, a dry, humorless, hysterical laugh. This is rich. This is actually hilarious. Steve, please. So my roommate might be the dad of my kid. Our kid. Maybe. Or maybe Mike's kid. He stands up. Energy shifts. Suddenly he's not broken. He's manic. Okay. Okay. We handle this. How? We tell Mike. Mike walks in 10 minutes later, holding a bag of chips, sees us sitting at the kitchen table like it's an intervention. What did I do? He asks immediately. Sit down, Mike. Mike sits. Looks scared. Steve looks at me. Tell him. I can't breathe. I'm pregnant, Mike. Mike blinks. Congrats. He looks at Steve. Congrats, bro. Steve shakes his head. Smoke's pouring out of his ears. No, Mike. Not congrats, bro. The timing. Mike freezes. Chit bag crinkles in his grip. Oh. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Oh. But ellipsis. We used ellipsis. Didn't work, obviously. Mike goes pale. Paler than the drywall. I can't have a kid. I'm 25. I have negative $40 in my account. Steve leans forward. Here comes the unreasonable arc. We are going to handle this like adults. What does that mean? Mike asks. It means, Steve says, putting on his I read a psychology article once voice, that we are a village now. A village? I ask. Yes. We can't know who the father is until the baby is born. Prenatal paternity tests are dangerous and expensive. They aren't really that dangerous anymore. But Steve insists he read a thread on Reddit about it. About it. So until then, we co-parent. Mike looks like he wants to jump out the window. Co-parent? I'm moving out next month. Not anymore, Steve says. You're staying. We need the rent money for the baby. I stare at Steve. You're deciding this? I'm stepping up, Steve says. I'm choosing to be the bigger man. I'm choosing radical acceptance. He uses the phrase radical acceptance 3 more times that night. It makes me want to scream. The next week is a nightmare in a 3-bedroom apartment. Mike walks around on tiptoes. Steve starts buying baby books. He highlights passages and leaves them on the counter. Passages about building trust and modern families. He's LARPing as a saint, but every time I talk to Mike, Steve is there. Hovering. "How's our little passenger?" he asks, staring at my stomach, then staring at Mike. Mike is miserable. He stops eating. He loses like 10 pounds. I make an appointment for the doctor. Steve insists on coming. I have to be there. For the baby. Mike asks if he should come. Steve laughs. "No, Mike, that would be weird." Hypocrisy level 100. At the clinic. Paper gown, cold gel. Steve is holding my hand too tight, cutting off circulation. Doctor comes in. Older lady, no nonsense, starts the ultrasound. There it is. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Horch, whoosh. Heartbeat sound. Steve starts crying. Actual tears. "That's my boy," he whispers. I look at the screen. It's a gray blob. Could be Steve's boy. Could be Mike's boy. Could be a girl. The doctor looks at Steve. "First one?" "Yeah," Steve says. "Miracle baby." I almost choke on my spit. Miracle baby, born of a drunken dare. We leave. Steve posts a status on Facebook. Vague picture of baby shoes. Big changes coming. Hashtag blessed. Hashtag growth. I tell him to take it down. Why? Are you ashamed? "Steve, we don't know who the dad is." "It doesn't matter," he says, eyes wide and manic. I'm claiming it. Energy creates reality. He's lost his mind. He's fully dissociated into a savior complex. Meanwhile, the rumor mill starts. Remember the friend group? Someone saw Mike buying pregnancy tests with me. He went with me for the second round of confirmation because Steve was at work. Rumor starts. Mike got Steve's girlfriend pregnant. Then it mutates. Steve let Mike get his girlfriend pregnant. Then the final form, Steve, Mike, and Anon are in a throuple. We go to a birthday party for a mutual friend. Everyone is looking at us, whispering. Mike is drinking heavily in the corner. Steve has his arm around my waist like a vice. Someone brave. A girl named Jessica comes up. So, ellipsis. I heard the news. She looks at my stomach, then at Steve, then at Mike. "You guys are so ellipsis progressive." Steve beams. "Love is love, Jessica. We're redefining family. I want to die. I want to sink into the floorboards and decompose." Mike hears this. He chokes on his beer, comes over. "We aren't redefining anything. It was a mistake." Steve's smile drops. "Don't call the child a mistake, Mike. That's trauma projection. It's a biological fact, Steve. We were drunk." Room goes silent. Music stops. Everyone's staring. Steve looks at the crowd. Mike is processing a lot of fear right now. We're holding space for him. Mike throws his red solo cup on the ground. "Stop psychoanalyzing me. You pressured me into it," gasps. The narrative shifts. Steve isn't the progressive hero anymore. He's the weird cuckold who watched. Steve drags me out of the party. Car ride home is silent, except for Steve breathing heavily. "He ruined it," Steve mutters. "He ruined the vibe." Steve, he's terrified. He's weak. Unlike me, I'm strong. I'm staying. We get home. Mike is packing a bag. "I can't do this," Mike says. "I can't live in this experiment anymore." Steve blocks the doorway. "You have financial obligations, Mike." "Sue me, Steve." I'm gone. Mike leaves, sleeping on a friend's couch. Apartment feels huge and empty. Just me, Steve, and the growing gray blob. Steve's mom enters the chat. Linda. She calls me up. "Steve told me the news." "Oh, great." He said it's a complicated situation, but that he's choosing love. Steve spun the story to his mom. Made himself look like Jesus. Didn't mention the specific mechanics of the conception. Just that mistakes happened, and he is forgiving. Linda comes over with a casserole. Tuna noodle. Smells like cat food. Sits me down. Now, honey, you know Steve has a big heart. Yes, Linda. You're lucky he's sticking around. Most men wouldn't. The implication hangs in the air. I'm damaged goods. Steve is the salvage crew. She starts knitting a blanket. Yellow yarn because we don't know the gender yet. Months pass. I'm showing now. Huge. Waddling around the apartment. Steve is unbearable. He tracks my calories. Are you sure you should eat that donut? Think of the development. He plays classical music to my stomach. He reads to the belly at night. But it's performative. He looks at me with resentment when he thinks I'm not looking. One night, dishes in the sink. I ask him to wash a pan. He snaps. I'm doing everything. I'm the only one here. I'm carrying a human. Steve. A human that might be Mike's. You said you accepted it. Radical acceptance, Steve. I'm trying, but it's disgusting. You let him. You told me to. You watched. You could have said no. You wanted it. There it is. The revisionist history. He's convinced himself he was a helpless bystander, not the architect. I walk out of the kitchen, lock myself in the bathroom, sit on the edge of the tub, look at the yellow blanket Linda made. It's unraveling at the corner. Phone buzzes. Text from Mike. Haven't heard from him in 3 months. Hey, heard you're due soon. Yeah. If it's mine. Ellipsis I want to know. Eventually. I know Mike. Steve is crazy. You know that, right? I don't reply. Because I know. But I'm stuck. Lease is in both our names. Bank accounts are separate, but bills are shared. I have no family nearby. Steve is my only safety net, and it's a net made of barbed wire. Delivery day looms. Doctor says any day now. Bag is packed by the door. Tiny onesies. Diapers. Nursing pads. Steve is pacing. He has a GoPro camera. Going to film the birth, he says. Absolutely not, I say. It's for the memories, for the legacy. No, Steve. You're being difficult. Hormones. He dismisses me. 2 days later, water breaks. 3 a.m. Ruins the mattress. Pain is blinding. Steve drives me to the hospital. He's vlogging in the car. It's go time, guys. Miracle baby incoming. Talking to his phone, not me. We get to the room. Labor is long. 14 hours. Pain, sweat, nurses checking dilation. Steve is eating a vending machine sandwich in the corner. My back is killing me, he says. I'm pushing a human out of my body. Finally, baby comes out. Crying. Red. Loud. Nurse cleans him up. It's a boy, she says. Steve rushes over, looks at the baby, looks closely. Baby has dark hair. Steve has blonde hair. Mike has dark hair. Room goes quiet. Steve freezes. Camera in his hand drops to his side. He looks at me, eyes cold. He doesn't hold the baby. Nurse hands him to me. I look at the tiny face. Nose looks like Mike's. Chin looks like Mike's. Or maybe it's just a generic baby face. But Steve has decided. He backs away toward the door. Steve, I need air, he says. Steve, don't leave. I can't look at him right now. He walks out. Nurse looks at me. Is Dad okay? He's processing, I say, voice cracking. I hold the baby. He's heavy, warm, innocent. Doesn't know his existence is a math problem. Doesn't know he's a group project. Phone buzzes on the tray table. Text from Steve. I'm going to stay at my mom's tonight. Coward. Second buzz. Text from Mike. Is he here? I look at the baby. Look at the phone. Look at the empty chair where Steve was supposed to be. Realize I'm alone. Completely alone. But I have a son and a hospital bill. And a lease to break. I type back to Mike. He's here. Does he look like me? I look at the baby's dark hair again. I delete the draft. Turn off the phone. Nurse comes in to check vitals. What's his name? She asks. I haven't thought of one. Steve wanted Legend or Maverick. Mike liked Daniel. Leo, I say. Random. Neutral. My own choice. Nurse writes it down. Door opens. It's not Steve. It's a janitor emptying the trash. Door swings shut with a heavy click. Sound of finality. I pull the blanket up. Close my eyes. Tomorrow is going to be a disaster. Lawyers, paternity tests, custody battles. But right now, room is quiet, machine beeps, baby breathes. That's enough for one night.